What's up, everybody out there watching this? This is another Year in Wrestling video in my series of Year in Wrestling videos. This is 2007 Part 2. I'll be talking about May until September, mostly about the WWE, some TNA. Here we go. I ended talking about Backlash. That was in April, and I'm going to talk about Judgment Day now, and the main event. I'm not going to talk about the entire card because I said I'm only talking about the entire cards for SummerSlam, WrestleMania, and Survivor Series. And then I'll just mention and talk about some of the main events of the monthly pay-per-views for WWE. Judgment Day, the main event was, first, before the main event, we had MVP defeat Chris Benoit to win the U.S. title in a 2 out of 3 falls match, which I'm sure was very good. The main event for Judgment Day was Raw WWE Champion John Cena defeating the Great Khali. It was not a very good worked match. It was pretty slow, and I mean, it was a little bit entertaining because Cena did the best he could with the Great Khali. The Great Khali could barely move. The guy's like 7'5". The guy is worse in the ring than the Giant Gonzalez and El Gigante. So it wasn't really Khali's fault that he was so damn big and he could barely move in the ring. But then again, Vince loves his giants, so he just had to put Great Khali in the main event of a pay-per-view. Anyways, John Cena defeats the Great Khali, and they would work again next month at One Night Stand. It used to be called ECW One Night Stand. Well, they changed the name to WWE One Night Stand in June of 2007. Before the main event of One Night Stand, which I think was called One Night, and kind of was billed as One Night Stand Extreme Rules, and I think 2 years later they would call it Extreme Rules. So before the main event, we had Candice Michelle defeat Melina in a pudding match that wasn't a wrestling match. It was just a gimmick match for the guys. Candice Michelle defeats Melina in a pudding match. As I said, it wasn't very good, but it really wasn't supposed to be. Main event was, again, WWE Champion John Cena taking on the Great Khali in a Falls Count Anywhere match. It was decent. If I'd rate it 1 to 10, I'd give it a 5. It wasn't that good, but it was okay. In other matches at One Night Stand, you had Tommy Dreamer, part of the ECW brand. Tommy Dreamer team up with CM Punk and the Sandman to defeat MVP Matt Striker and Elijah Burke. So One Night Stand was a decent pay-per-view. I'm not going to say it was bad or awful. Now, Vengeance 07 took place in the same month of June. Back in 07, they put on 2 pay-per-views in June, which was pretty ridiculous. Johnny Nitro, at Vengeance 07, Johnny Nitro defeated CM Punk to win the ECW Championship. And the ECW Championship was vacated at the time, and CM Punk was supposed to face Chris Benoit for the championship, but no. That match didn't happen because Chris Benoit no-showed. The first pay-per-view ever, Chris Benoit no-showed. Fans started chanting during CM Punk, John Morrison, they were chanting, we want Benoit. I think they were chanting that. But Benoit never showed. And then we found out after Sunday night, on Monday, I found out the news after Vengeance that Chris Benoit was found dead and his entire family was found dead. And I'm sure a lot of wrestling fans would never believe that Chris Benoit killed his entire family, then killed himself. but he did. But a lot of wrestling fans and Chris Benoit fans probably thought intruders broke in his house and killed him and his family. Well, that didn't happen. And Chris Benoit, I'm sure, took a lot of pills, a lot of drugs, and he had also a lot of empty beer cans in the room where he died. So the guy probably was high as fuck on pills, and then he drank and got really loaded and killed his wife and kid and then killed himself. I'm not going to discuss much what Chris Benoit did because I already made a whole video about if Chris Benoit should get in the Hall of Fame. I already made a video about that last year. You can watch it on my channel and find it. I think it's under the playlist of top wrestling news stories. I think it's under there. Anyways, Chris Benoit no-showed. Johnny Nitro, I guess he's still called Johnny Nitro, but he would become John Morrison. He wins the ECW championship. And Benoit basically is dead and has been dead since 2007. And he did not show up at Vengeance when he was supposed to. Obviously, Chris Benoit, I think, was burnt out. He was sick of being on the road. He probably knew his wife, Nancy, that he killed. He knew she wanted a divorce, and I guess he couldn't take that because he would have had to pay her a lot of child support. He didn't want her to divorce him, so he snapped. That's basically all I can say is Chris Benoit snapped, and what he did was just a nightmare. It was a fucking nightmare, and it was disgusting what he did. So now I'm going to talk about TNA, or Vengeance. I'll talk main event. I didn't talk about it. Main event was Raw. WWE Champion John Cena defeating Mick Foley, Bobby Lashley, Randy Orton, and King Booker in a 5-way match. And John Cena would retain the WWE Championship. It was a pretty decent match. It was a good main event. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Mick Foley come out of retirement and compete at Vengeance, even though he didn't do that much. And he just took a lot of bumps and moves from Cena and other people. So now TNA Slammiversary, which is their anniversary pay-per-view, because TNA started in June 2002. This was June 2007 Slammiversary. Bob Backlund actually competed at Slammiversary and defeated Alex Shelley. They were in a short little feud. Rhino and Low-Ki defeated LAX. Jay Lethal defeated X Division champion Chris Sabin to win the championship. Jerry Lynn and one of the Tennessee Titans, Frank Wright, I believe was his name. They defeated James Storm and Ron the Truth Killings. The Voodoo Kin Mafia, who was Billy Gunn and Road Dogg, defeated Basham and Dementia, whoever the hell they were. I don't remember them. Eric Young defeated Bobby Roode in the right to have his to get freedom and leave Robert Roode Incorporated. Team 3D defeated Rick Steiner and Road Warrior Animal for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. Sting defeated Christopher Daniels. I'm sure they had a great match because Christopher Daniels is a hell of a worker and can have a good match with basically anybody. Abyss defeated Tyson Tomko in a no DQ match. I'm sure thumbtacks were used in maybe even barbed wire. And I think Tyson Tomko got Black Hole slammed on thumbtacks for the 1, 2, 3. And a victory for Abyss. Kurt Angle defeated Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, Christian Cage, and Chris Harris in a King of the Mountain match to become TNA World Heavyweight Champion. Kurt Angle wins the TNA World Heavyweight title. at Slammiversary '07. Now I'm going to go back to WWE. Had a pay-per-view in July called the Great American Bash. I believe it was a SmackDown only pay-per-view, but they had John Cena on it. And John Cena was part of Raw. The main event for the Great American Bash. Before the main event, you had the Great Khali defeat Kane and Batista in a triple threat match. And Great Khali was the World Heavyweight Champion at the time, which I never liked. Khali, when he won the world title, I thought it was ridiculous that he was World Heavyweight Champion because the guy couldn't wrestle and the guy couldn't carry a match and the guy couldn't wrestle anybody and have a good match with them. So, other matches at Great American Bash, we saw Candice Michelle defeat Melina. Carlito defeat the Sandman. I don't know why the Sandman was on the Great American Bash because he wasn't a part of SmackDown. We saw John Morrison, ECW champion. John Morrison defeats CM Punk. And the main event was Raw WWE champion John Cena defeating Bobby Lashley. They had a pretty damn good match. I enjoyed it. Now I'm going to talk about SummerSlam 2007. Kane defeated Finlay to kick off SummerSlam. Umaga defeated Mr. Kennedy and Carlito in a three-way. Rey Mysterio Jr. defeated Chavo Guerrero Jr. Beth Phoenix won a Divas Battle Royal, last eliminating Michelle McCool. And I believe at the time, I think Michelle McCool might have, I don't think she was a women's champion. One of them were Divas champion. Either, I think Maurice or Mickie James at the time were the Divas champion. Anyways, Beth Phoenix wins the Divas Battle Royal, last eliminating Michelle McCool. ECW Championship on the line. John Morrison defeated CM Punk again for like the third pay-per-view in a row. Where was I now? Triple H returned after tearing his quad. In January, Triple H returned to the WWE at SummerSlam '07. Triple H returned and defeated King Booker. Batista defeated SmackDown World Heavyweight Champion, the Great Khali, by DQ. So he did not win the championship. And the main event was Raw WWE Champion John Cena defeating Randy Orton. They were in a pretty long, or they started a feud, I believe, before SummerSlam. They were in a pretty damn good feud, hot feud. Randy Orton, or I think before SummerSlam, Randy Orton threw John Cena's father over the guardrail and kicked him in the head. So then John Cena wanted revenge, and he got his revenge at SummerSlam by defeating Randy Orton. So that was SummerSlam 2007. If I'd give it a rating, I'd say it was a 7 or a 7. Pretty good pay-per-view, but could have been better. Now TNA's pay-per-view was Hard Justice in August '07. The main event was TNA World Champion and IWGP World Champion Kurt Angle defeating Samoa Joe for the World Tag Team Championship and the X Division Championship in a winner-takes-all match. So Kurt Angle would leave Hard Justice as IWGP Champion, TNA World Champion, TNA Tag Champion, TNA X Division Champion. So Kurt Angle would leave the pay-per-view with just about every single TNA title. because back then TNA only had 3 titles: the tag, the world, and the X division. Now they have the King of the Mountain Championship. So that was Hard Justice in August '07. Now I'm going to talk about I'll talk about No Surrender. September '07. Their main event was Christian Cage defeating, or this was before the main event, Christian Cage defeated Samoa Joe by DQ. Main event was TNA World Champion Kurt Angle defeating Abyss. Kurt Angle and Abyss, their matches were always good. They had very good matches together for the world title. But Kurt Angle wins and retains the world title. That was No Surrender, the main event of No Surrender. Now, Unforgiven '07. The main event was, before the main event, we had Randy Orton defeat John Cena, the WWE Champion, by DQ. The main event was The Undertaker defeating Mark Henry. It was not for any title. It was just a regular singles match. So that was Unforgiven. In part 3 of my year in wrestling 2007, I will talk about some Ring of Honor. They had a pay-per-view in, I think, October. Let me check. Ring of Honor did have a pay-per-view in October that was '06. October '07, they did have a pay-per-view. Anyways, part 3 will be the final 2007, where I talk about 2007. Part 3 will be my final video. This was the year in wrestling 2007. Hope you enjoyed it. I went a little bit shorter because my past videos have been over 50 minutes, and I didn't want to read every single pay-per-view match, as I said. From going forward, my year of wrestling videos, I'm going to just be talking about the entire cards for Royal Rumble, TNA Lockdown, WrestleMania, TNA Slammiversary, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series. The rest of the pay-per-views, I'll mention their main events and talk about them a little. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the year in wrestling 2007, part 2. I was gone basically all night tonight. I missed NXT, but I'm going to watch it tonight. I'm going to watch NXT soon because I wasn't home to see it. Anyways, I couldn't get home. But that's another story. And that's really nobody's business why I wasn't home. I'm not going to say why. Personal reasons. Anyway, I'm going to watch NXT tonight. I hope it was a good episode. Hope you all enjoyed NXT if you watched it. Hope you enjoyed it. I did miss tweeting, but I couldn't get home to tweet. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the year in wrestling 2007 part 2. Bye for now, everybody. Have a great week.